my being married is beginning to threaten my life and my sanity. And I want to create a space. What will people say? To hell with what people will say. They are not in that marriage with you. Then I had another instance where a woman lost her dad. And the idea of the husband to comforting the woman is sleeping with her. And you want me to subject my body to candle wax? You want to whip me? You want to pee on me before you have sex with me?
Pee.
Marriage is not a do or die affair. And the society should understand that.
It's the E.B.U.N show, a talk show for women and the men who love them. I am Ebulomo. Behind closed doors, in the sanctity of marriage, a shocking reality exists. 1 in every 3 women experiences sexual abuse, mostly at the hand of their spouse. And on this episode, we would be discussing the taboo topic, sexual abuse in marriage. We hear from emotional abuse to power intoxication at the hand of one spouse, or even emotional torture. And that is why on this episode, I am bringing one of Nigeria's finest. I'm talking about Dr. Seun Olabode. She is the lead counselor and the founder of Relationships and Marriage Academy, RAMA. And of course, she has authored over 15 books, among which are Loving Like the Bad Girls of the Bible, The Colors of Forgiveness, and My Dear Daughter, among others. Join me as we welcome on the show Dr. Seun Olabode. Dr. Seun, you're welcome on the E.B.U.N show.
Thank you.
That took some caution. Some will know why, some don't bother. And it's such an honor to have you, because I honestly did not know if you'd be able to come, given your schedule, when I reached out to you. But I am super excited that you're here. Thank you for coming.
I'm glad to be here too. Anything for you.
Yay! Thank you. So for this topic, it is someone of your caliber. And when I say caliber, I mean knowledge base, that I trust to do justice to this topic, which is sexual abuse in marriage. Okay. I'm sure that some will still say, in marriage. But of course, in marriage. So let me ask you, what constitutes abuse in marriage?
So I think is this erroneous mentality that the fact that we are legally bound together, whether traditionally or we went to the law court or we went to church or whichever religious house we went to where the solemnization took place, because somebody paid engagement and dowry, the mentality that I own this person is what precipitates abuse most times.
Yes, so let us give instances of abuse. What are we going to call abuse in marriage? With this definition you gave, it means abuse is more tilted towards women?
Well, with the new discoveries of the recent times, I think men are beginning to experience abuse also. Although women primarily are the larger percentage to experience sexual abuse in marriage.
In marriage. Okay, so some would say, like you said, I am legally binded to this person. And so when I say I need to have sex, I have sex. And they don't want to believe that is abuse.
And I think what actually probably constitutes some level of strength to misbehavior in marriage is the fact that even the Nigerian constitution does not recognize rape in marriage. You can't go to court to say you want to sue your husband or your wife for rape. So because it's not recognized, it's like that empowers the marital predators to misbehave. And just like the word abuse, abuse is the misuse, wrong use, or violent dimension of use of anything. And when it comes to the issue of sex, Sexual abuse is the misuse or the abuse or the introduction of violence into the privileges to sex you have as a couple. And it can tilt either towards the husband or towards the wife. However, women or wives tend to be the ones to bear the larger brunt of sexual abuse in marriage.
In marriage. And really, because when I was coming, my husband too was saying that, are you going to talk about the man where deprivation?
Yeah,
yes.
Deprivation
so
is an abuse.
I want us to dwell on that, yes.
Deprivation is an abuse.
Because I've heard all sorts of things, even in my small age, where I say, you didn't give him money, you deny him sex, you know? It's an exchange.
Yeah,
like,
it's abuse.
If he doesn't give you enough, like, sex has been used as a bait for men, as a weapon for men.
Weapon of punishment.
For men. That, and then for women, it is, you don't do it. It could be violence, it could be rape, but there's also this deprivation of finances from the man.
So let me make something clear. When we're talking about marital sex abuse, it doesn't have to involve physical violence for it to be an abuse. Once the consent of your spouse is not given before the sexual expression or intercourse takes place, it's an abuse. So it is more about the consent of your spouse, not necessarily physical violence, emotional violence, or whatever. Once the consent of the other person is not introduced or is not considered when the sexual intercourse takes place, you've automatically abused the other person. And instances where things like that can happen is when the other person or your spouse gives a body or his body to you for sexual intercourse out of fear. Probably the other person is not financially or economically empowered. And they know that when they tell you no, the money that is supposed to come from your end will not come. Some people guilt trip their partners for saying no. Some other people just leave the house. Some people can just leave the house for days on end just because the spouse said no. And in some other cases, they keep malice in the house. Oh, so you said no. And the other person just becomes gloomy. And some will not even talk at all. Some other people will be giving you monosyllabic answers.
Yes, no.
So, because of that, sometimes an unwilling spouse, out of fear of the consequences of the no, would just allow the other spouse to have his or her way. And that is sexual abuse in marriage. Another form of sexual abuse in marriage could also be when safe sex is not practiced. You know, sometimes some people just believe that because we are married, I can just have sex with you. Sometimes the other person is not emotionally, physically, or mentally ready
for it.
Especially in cases where the woman just puts to bed.
I was going to say that. And the husband is demanding sex in a matter
almost
of
immediately,
weeks.
maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, depending on the kind of birth experience that woman had. The body might not be ready. Somehow, the trauma she went through, she might not be mentally ready
for it.
And it will take an understanding spouse to give the person the time and the support required to recover and be available sexually, mentally, physically. When you are not making that happen, the support they need, you are not giving it to them, and you start threatening them that there are enough options outside there, and you are using that as a method of coercion to make them submit their body to you, that's an abuse.
I want us to look at the flip side of it, where we already established that when you do not give consent, even within the 4 walls of marriage, it is abuse. That part where women begin to use "I'm not consenting" as an excuse, because they can just take this and run with it and say,
I will get there.
Once I've not consented, do not abuse me, because there are things that trend online and we see all sort of it.
I would get there. So another form of abuse is when you disregard the genuine disinterest of the second person at that particular moment. And I used genuine disinterest. Then I also used that particular moment. It's not supposed to be a repetitive decline to the advances of your spouse's sex. But there are instances where you are just not in that frame of mind. Maybe you are a banker and a particular huge amount of money is missing on your watch. And EFCC is involved, everybody, you know the consequences, you are so emotionally disturbed, and you go back home and what is going on in the mind of your spouse is, let's just eat the bed. So the person is not going to be in that frame of mind. Then I had another instance where a woman lost her dad. And the idea of the husband to comforting the woman is sleeping with her. But the woman is,
It's comfort language.
Who wants the comfort, mommy? Is it the man or the woman?
According to the woman actually said, in fairness to the man, that is the man's comfort language.
Wow.
When he is disturbed, once he's able to have sex with his woman, that averagely is able to stabilize. So I think because that makes sense to him, he feels that it equally should make sense to her.
The woman.
And when she told him an outright no, he felt offended that I'm trying to comfort you and you're saying no. However, to that woman at that particular time, that's the last thing on her mind. I'm grieving here. And all this romance is not...
It's the last thing on my mind.
So sometimes genuine disinterest, or I've had a long day. Some people are just not being realistic. So it's a husband and wife relationship and it could flip whichever direction. So you, the husband, got back home from work at 4 o'clock. So you sat down and you were watching the premiership. She got back home around 6:30, dropped her bag at the living room.
Goes into the kitchen
to fix the meal. She fixes the meal. The meal got ready around 7:30. She's still the one that cleared the dishes, fixed the dirty pots and everything. And sometimes if children are involved, assignment has to be done, school uniform has to be washed.
And readiness for the next day.
And the man is still in the living room watching premiership. So, despite the fact that she arrived at 6:30, dropped her bag in the living room, she didn't even go into the room until around 9 p.m. Then she's getting into the room for the first time, 9 p.m. You haven't sat down since 4 p.m. You are now saying, baby, let's do something. That's not being fair.
Baby, key you.
That's not being fair.
Yes.
That's not being fair. The energy to actively engage in sex will not be available.
It won't be there.
And rather than do things that will irritate you in the matrimonial bed, why not say, please, can we postpone this? Can we have this at another time? I would want to rest. In fact, if it's an understanding man, by the time you cuddle her, pet her, and co, you can sleep and wake up in the middle of the night and something will happen. But immediately at that particular time, the disinterest is genuine.
Yeah.
And any other thing is an abuse. Another instance of abuse is when some people have just, well, to me, it might be weird, to them it's normal. When you expect your spouse to involve or engage with you in some sexual activities that are not their kind of idea, BDSM, groupie, orgies, tying them with ropes to candle wax, and you are just saying, no, we are married. If you don't consent, I would cheat. I would just go out there.
You really wanted to cheat in the first place.
That is an abuse. That's an abuse. You should have told me the kind of fantasies you had upstairs before we got married. Then I can count the cost and decide whether I want to be a part of that or not. But you didn't tell me that you are that kind of person. You are into fetishism.
Yes.
You didn't tell me you are into fetishism. Now we are married and you want me to subject my body to candle wax? You want to whip me? You want to pee on me before you have sex with me?
Pee.
People do it. People rub defecation on the body of other people in the name of sex.
What?
Some people beat their spouse to stupor before they can enjoy sex with them. Those things are crazy, and some spouse will insist that is the kind of sex they want. Otherwise, there will be reaction. Wow. That's sex abuse. Then there is also this area of deprivation, when you are telling the man, except he gets you bone straight, or ashwebi, or a particular amount you've demanded in the time past, that there will be no sex in that house. Or maybe the man is now the one saying that except you do this or you do this, then
sex becomes an exchange.
The last time I checked, money is the medium of exchange, not sex. So by the time you are bringing in sex as a medium of exchange, it has become prostitution, no longer marital sex.
Dr. Seun, sometimes the way ladies, because one of the episodes we'll be talking about dating, right? I don't know if it will come before this episode or after, where we're talking about how the relationship started in the first place, where women themselves make sex a thing of exchange. If I come over to your house, we have sex, you give me money, you know. So if you enter into a marriage with that same man, would this still be considered abuse? Because you started with sex being an exchange in the first place, and then you enter into such marriage. Do you expect that man will change such mentality?
So when you talk in this particular kind of direction, we need to clarify things. And the clarification comes in when you say, you came to my place, we had sex, I gave you money. The giving money might be a show of love. You came to my place, I might be giving you money for transportation. Since I didn't send Uber to come and pick you, I didn't send my car to come and pick you, and you are my woman, to make it comfortable, to show affection, to show care. Because we are still the same gender that will say the man is not caring when we come to their place and they didn't give us anything. So you came to my place, we had sex or we made love, whichever one you want to call it, and you are going and I gave you money. I'm showing or I'm expressing care for you, not necessarily that I'm paying you for the sex. If I want to pay for sex, I know Allen Avenue Junction to go. So it should not be interpreted as that, except in cases where the lady said, oh, for this sex, I'm collecting this amount. Or before the sex took place, there was an agreement that for this sex to happen or after this sex, you are going to give me this amount. Otherwise, you can't just assume that because I gave you money, that I gave you money because I had sex with you.
Abuse is not something people are bold to talk about, whether in marriage or outside marriage. People just suffer in silence. And then you have a mother who says, Ile oko eni, whatever you see there, you stay there. What should victims do in such situations?
Okay, so the first thing I would want to say about that is that I would want to plead with the lawmakers in our country to revisit the definition of sexual abuse in marriage. Because the fact that Nigeria as a country doesn't even recognize sexual abuse in marriage
is a big problem.
It's a big problem. It has empowered some bad-mannered people in marriage to misbehave because they know that you cannot go to the police station or you cannot go to court and report. They believe that because they paid dowry, that automatically they own you. And there are some cultural beliefs too that are not helping matters. What do you mean? Olowo ori e? So he paid for your head.
Eni to leru lo leru.
Eni to leru lo leru.
That one.
That means in your subconscious, you married a slave, not a woman. Eni to ni eru.
Lo leru.
Meaning you didn't marry a wife, you married a slave. And we need to start working on those paradigms and begin to embrace better approach and better mentality to things like this. So our lawmakers should help us look into this. There should be an avenue and certain conditions under which some sexual misbehaviors could be reported even within the confines of marriage. That is one. Then two, I will also want to encourage counseling as an across board, where people are made to know what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. The fact that I'm married to you doesn't mean that I have to lose myself or I have to become a non-entity. I have to become a footmat just because I'm married. There are some modicum of respect that is supposed to be accorded to me And each person should know that. I also want to encourage people in relationship. Don't say love is blind. Because if you enter into marriage thinking love is blind, the experiences of marriage will become an eye-opener to you. So whatever will not work for you, including the area of sex, talk about it before the marriage is contracted, so that if the two of you want to go your separate ways based on that, you can go your separate ways. What will work for us in finances, what will work for us in health, what will work for us in location where we are going to reside, should not only be the things to talk about. Talk about what will work also in the area of sex, so that each person knows what to expect.
Exactly.
And although the only thing that is constant in life is change, we should also state it. When your so-called changes occur, if the change doesn't fly with me, it will not be enforced. Another thing I will also want to say.
But some will use religion as an excuse, because you saw an oath for better, for worse. And the fact that a lot of people I don't know much about the other religion, but I am a Christian, and people say no matter what you say in marriage, you cannot leave because the Bible doesn't support divorce. So
what I've seen about the holy books, whichever one you want to talk about, is that you can use the holy book for whatever you want to use it for. You want to use it in the positive direction, you have enough scriptures to quote. You want to use it in the negative direction too. But if we'll now look at it, maybe from the Christian perspective now, if we look at it, God himself and Jesus, the Son of God, did not subscribe or permit the abuse of any human being. At creation, when God gave man dominion, it was over the fish of the sea, the fowl of the air, and over all the things that walk on earth. He did not give dominion over another human being. That is one. Then two, there are so many laws that they were saying was applicable based on another human being creating those laws, like the Mosaic law, where when Jesus was asked, he had another opinion. I could remember that there were some daughters of Zelophehad. In the case of these daughters, their dad had no son, and all the inheritances was supposed to go to other families based on Mosaic law, because their dad did not have a son. But when those ladies went to Moses and said, no, it's not supposed to be, and Moses went to ask God, God said the ladies were right, that the possessions of their dad should be given to them. So sometimes it is in the misinterpretation of scriptures that makes many people use cultural mentality to interpret scriptures.
True.
I could pick instances. In fact, when Jesus was healing in the scriptures, Jesus heals men directly. He speaks to them. But when Jesus has to do with women, you could see gentility. You could see respect. The girl he raised from the dead, Jesus held her hand to help her up. Jesus told them to give her food. The woman that was supposed to be stoned to death as a result of adultery, can you imagine? They said they caught them in the act, meaning two people were caught.
But the man.
But they let the man off.
We could not find him in that story.
And they wanted the woman to die. Jesus didn't agree to that. Just as they freed the man, Jesus freed the woman. Although Jesus told the woman not to do that again. So many times they just turn what the scripture said upside down. And I'm sure that that also applies to the other religion. I could remember that one of my Muslim friends was telling me that even in Quran, there is a particular chapter of the Quran devoted to women. And there was no chapter devoted to men. So there is this respect, there is this honor that religion even accords women. It's just this cultural mentality that makes people want to twist things to their favor.
You mentioned something briefly. I think finance is another thing.
Yeah, that's the last thing I want to say. Many times, most people that fall a victim of all these kinds of abuse, not only sexual abuse now, many
Emotional
other types
abuse.
of abuse.
Yes.
There are people that are not financially empowered. When you have your own money, there are many things that you will be able to salvage or nip in the bud.
True.
When I can live comfortably on my own and I choose to respect you as my husband, you will know that I'm not respecting you because I need your money. I'm respecting you because I understand your role and your position in the family. And when I do that, I expect that respect should be reciprocal. You should reciprocate respect in my own direction too. Just as I would want you to be fine, I would want you to fare well, and I would want you to have bliss as an experience in this marriage. I would expect you to have that in my direction too. I have to first be alive and to be mentally okay to be a married person.
Sure.
So if my being married is beginning to threaten my life and my sanity, I might want to create a space for you to realize what you are doing, such that when we come back together, we would lay the cards plain on the table and there would be adjustments in the rules of engagement. But when you don't have your own money, that cannot happen.
True.
So I advise people, have a means of income before you go into marriage. Sometimes what you are earning might not be sufficient. It's still okay. But that you don't have a
At all
means
is the
of
problem.
income at all is the problem.
Yes.
You can be abused, you can be misused, you can be trampled upon, either as a man or as a woman, if you don't have your own money.
Now you see why it had to be Dr. Seun on this episode. We were talking about people committing to romantic relationships but do not want to marry. Could abuse be one of the reasons why marriage is no longer attractive to people?
Of course. In some instances, it could. A child that has grown up in an environment where he has seen or she has seen either the dad or mom being subjected to abuse would definitely not be looking forward to getting married. And if I can get the dividends of marriage without being married, then I can as well have dates out, relationships here and there, no commitment attached, and we'll go ahead. However, what I tell the people around me is that you can make better choices.
True.
The fact that the experiences you had around you are nothing to write home about doesn't mean your own has to be like that.
Way.
For theirs to be like that, I tell people that you don't react. You don't react. You want to know the reason behind what you are seeing. When people do things, there is a reason behind it. In some people's cases, it might be knowledge deficiency. They don't know better. Because if they know better, they will do better. In some instances, it might be people taking advantage of the ignorance of the other person. The one person knows better, but the person that knows better is leveraging on the ignorance of the other person. In some other instances, it might just be that the person is also a victim. They've been subjected to an environment where that is all they know.
They know, and so
they've
they
not
feel
found healing. They've not found closure. And anybody that is hurt and doesn't find closure would make a victim of the other person.
Yes.
So the best thing to do, if you find yourself in an environment where everything you are seeing about marriage is not impressive, rather than using that as a yardstick or a basis for not being interested in marriage, I can tell you that there are people enjoying their marriages.
True.
And people doing well, genuinely well, not for camera reasons. And what I would advise is, you go for knowledge. What don't my parents know or my guardians that made their own marriage like this? You get that knowledge. After getting that knowledge, what kind of person are you supposed to look out for? When you look out for such people, then communicate. These are my expectations. this is my boundary. Beyond this, we don't have a deal. Do you agree with me? If changes are going to happen in the future, this change is a welcome development. Anyone that doesn't go down well with me, you would have to find a way around it. If all those conversations are
In place
before marriage, then also there is the place of the fear of God, whichever religion it is. There's a place of the fear of God, because sometimes you cannot control what people do, especially when they are not around you. And you also cannot control what they are exposed to in the level of, or in the area of information around friends, social media, and co. The basis for selection of what will be acceptable in their dealing with their spouse and what will not be acceptable would also have to do with their knowledge of God and their fear of God.
You're right. Thank you so much. Now, I want you to advise 3 levels of people.
Okay.
Parents, victims, and then the society. Because you have situations where people want to confide in friends, and then friends just say, you have to stay there, you know. So please, give an advice first to the parents, then to victims who are going through sexual abuse right now, and then the society.
So to parents, I would want to say that even if you will not do it for yourself, go for knowledge because of your children. Because the first love environment under which a child grows is the environment of their parents. The first socialization of a child comes from their birth environment. So you want to be sure that they have the right information. There should be no question your children cannot ask. There should be no question where you will shut them down and say, that's too big to ask. Or you will be giving them lies. Mommy, how are children born? We prayed. I slept and I woke up and there was a baby beside me. Tell them the truth at their level. And if you feel that the truth might be too complicated for them to understand at that age, break it down to the simplest level for them at that age. And as they grow older, add more to the level of knowledge they have regarding that. And also, don't be the kind of parent that tells your child, look at this house very well. When you are married, you don't have a room here any longer. That's an erroneous statement to make. Because if your child happens to find themselves in an environment that is not agreeable, an environment that threatens their life, the fact that you already told them that they don't have somewhere to come back to can make them stay when they are not supposed to stay. And if they don't come back to you because you don't want to say that your child is a divorcee or your child is separated, so you don't allow them come back to you alive, God forbid, they might bring them back to you in a body bag. So, as a parent, let your children know what they are supposed to know. And when they are going, as much as you wish them the best, and as much as you wish them good experiences in their marriage, let them know that they can always return to you, to come and talk to you, to come and confide in you, to see you as their support system in case things go south. And for the abused people, please don't suffer in silence. What will people say? To hell with what people will say. They are not in that marriage with you. They are not the ones enduring the pains, the hurt, and the emotional bruise and blackmail you are undergoing. So, whatever they have to say is secondary to your own peace, to your own wholesomeness, to your own being alive and being sane and stable. So, if the environment is a threat to your life, please leave that toxic environment at that particular time and look for help. And when I'm talking about going for help, I'm not talking about going for help from people that are biased, from people that have cultural prejudice. Go to people that are well trained, people that are equipped to handle such matters. And please don't involve children in marital issues. Don't use children as weapons to fight yourselves. They were not there when the marriage was contracted. Undo your matters. You might need to tell them eventually, depending on how complex the matter is. But don't use your children as weapons to fight yourselves. Remember that you are first supposed to be alive for you to be sustainably married and to be the mother or the father of your children. So look out for yourself first. The rule of love is love your neighbor as yourself. If you don't understand how to love yourself appropriately, you will not be able to appropriately love another person. Then to the society at large, please, it's high time we start appreciating and seeing as heroes people that speak up about what they are enduring, rather than seeing them as being a shame to womanhood or a shame to manhood in marriage. Everybody enters marriage with the intention that they want to enjoy marriage, they want bliss in marriage, but sometimes life happens. And when life happens, you don't throw away the baby with the bathwater, especially the religious environments. God hates divorce. It's divorce God hates, not the divorcee. So don't hate the divorcee on behalf of God, their creator. Let them be welcomed in the church or mosque environment. Don't treat them as outcasts just because they are having marital challenges. Don't use them to preach on the pulpit or at Jumat service. Welcome them, embrace them, comfort them, strengthen them, and channel them in the right direction where they could get help for closure and for wholesomeness. If it is an issue that can be worked upon for the marriage to evolve to be better, good. And if it is something that is beyond repair, let them amicably go their separate ways in such a way that if they see themselves in the future, they can still greet, though they are not married again. And if there are children involved, the children can go visit mommy, go visit daddy, despite the fact that they are not together again. Marriage is not a do or die affair. And the society should understand that. Also, the society should create laws that help to protect the sanity, the welfare, and the mentality of people in marriage. And where laws are, the laws should be revisited and upgraded based on the realities of our environment. It should not be a once and for all law. And it should be a law that is just, not a law that favors a particular gender in comparison to the other gender.
Honestly, I think I'm monetizing this episode. Because what? The level of knowledge? I mean, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your wealth of knowledge.
You're welcome.
And remember, the other half of the show happens in the comment section. But you are a victim, you need help. Dr. Seun is the lead counselor at Relationship and Marriage Academy. You can just go to the website and book a session with them, and you can be sure of confidentiality and your best interest at heart. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And that's it on this show. I'm sure you've learned a lot. Whether you are part of the society or you are a parent or you are the victim yourself, solution has come to you. Thank you so much for staying the time with us. Bye.
Thank you for your time.